Alrighty, hello everyone, welcome to Cinderful Gaming. Hope you're all doing well, hope you're all staying safe, and most of all, hope you're all fighting that war against the grey. We are back at it tonight, and we're doing some more on these Wadrun slingers, getting them slowly but surely painted up. So we've got a little bit more work to do on the base coats before we can slap down the wash. And that's going to start with some work on their heads. Got a variety of different headdresses on them. Just getting some base coats down on these. But how is everyone tonight? Alrighty, so yeah, this guy's got an eye patch. Currently, just picking all the ones out with their leather headdresses. We'll go back. A couple of them have a bit of gold and a bit of metallic ones. All right, so good old GW metallics requiring 50 million shakes before they're able to be used. Balthazar Gold is such a nice color, though. One of the few metallics from GW I still use. Well, I've got it, so I'm going to use it up. So what else have people been hobbying on? If you're watching along, Let us know what hobby you've been up to. Love to hear from everyone on what you've been getting up to hobby wise. Ninja, getting back into AOS, a friend of mine has ogres and then slaves to darkness, so I'm running some test games of what I have. Gits versus Nighthaunt. Nighthaunt wins like every time. Um, Gits are in a strong spot. Like Gits are pretty decent. It depends what you're running in your Gits. I get like I think you're in like regardless what you sort of go there with what your friends have, you're in a pretty good sort of state. None of the armies your friends have there are definitely sort of too low or too high in power level. Um, you should have a pretty good time with which either one you really go on. Um, I think both those armies play with fun mechanics, play around the game nicely. I don't think there's a bad choice for going if they're the two. If Gits and Nighthaunt are your options, um, and you're playing, with just a couple of mates and your friends, I don't think you have a bad choice there of which one to go with. think my next couple of AgeOS projects have sort of been made up for me. I got some friends who want to come around and play some games, so we're going to get some Soul Blight and Hedonites of Slaanesh sort of ready for some games. I've got a small force of both, which should be pretty fun to get ready. Always like changing up a painting project. I painted a small force of Wildrun here for my Conquest games. And then I've got a small force of Nords that I want to just finish. I think mostly just needs I think a lot of the base coating is done on them. There'll be a lot of tidy up work that needs to be done on them. Alrighty, now we go on to leg butcher. Yeah, so for those watching, anyone else doing any other hobby projects or anything? Got some plans to get something done? Played some games recently? Anything interesting happen in your hobby sphere? Beard Hammer Wargaming. I have been meaning to get back to you, Beard Hammer. I will respond on our plan to do something. It's just I've been really sick the past few weeks. You contacted me like in between two flus, but trying to find an army for AOS. And yes, yeah, I'm painting Conquest. Got some Wadrun Slingers on the go at the moment. This will be my second infantry unit for 1,000 points of Conquest, and then I've got a couple of brute units in some Raptor Riders and War Bread, 2 characters in the Chieftain and the Predator, and that'll be 1,000 points of Wadrun. Yeah, all good. It was just a flu. One flu leads to another sickness. The kids started kindy this year, and oh my god, we are sick constantly from them. Picking something up, and we just had another COVID scare, COVID outbreak at the freaking kindy, because one parent sent their kid to school when they were sick. Teachers quickly did a test when the kid was coughing everywhere and sneezing all over everywhere. And straight away, it's just like, it's annoying. It's like schools, kindy is preschool for like other places in the world. We call it kindergarten. Aussie habit of slanging absolutely everything for those not in Australia that don't get that slang. But yeah, it's like parents just dropping kids off as if it, school or whatever is daycare. And yeah, it just makes everyone sick. So annoying when parents do it. I remember we kept my daughter home for a couple of days because she had a really runny nose, and she's autistic. She doesn't really know how to blow her nose, and daughter's disabled. So, like it's hard to get her to blow her nose and stuff like that. And then I rock up on that day, and the parent after me comes in going, he's got a bit of a snotty nose. He's a little bit grumpy and unwell, but he's fine. He'll be fine. He'll be fine here. It's just like, why are you bringing them? Why? Like, I've just taken all this effort to not spread my own daughter's sickness, and you've literally... I hate people. My thoughts on the gigantic Tontor. I love it. I will have one at some point, and it will be getting painted, and I can't wait to use it. Rules-wise, the Drum Beast is really, really cool, because you don't have to spend your chant, which is cool. Yeah, it is worth noting. Like 8 spruce is pretty big, but Conquest does have a lot more space on their sprues. So, like, if we were going, how GW maybe cram pack their sprues with every little section being utilized, it'd probably be like 5 or 6 sprues. But still, that's still massive. The Tontor is huge. So Conquest is in Ninja. Conquest is in 38mm scale. So, for example, this is a 30. This is a Putrid Blight King from Age of Sigmar, right? This is a large infantry model from Age of Sigmar. Slinger here is my standard infantry for Conquest. Right. So that should give you an idea. So imagine that on the scale of like the monsters, and the Tontor is like the biggest monster that's Conquest has ever had. So it would be the equivalent of like the game's Archaon. It's huge. The Tontor, like, I wouldn't be able to fit it in shot. It's big. So, like, the game itself is generally bigger. The bone golems are huge. I've got a set there. I've got to finish up my old Dominion. It'll be one of my future projects. But once I got these done and then just finish up some Nords, we'll have 4 forces all done for the channel. So we'll hopefully be starting to pump out quite regular battle reports for Conquest, which will be fun. Then I'll have a force of Nords, Large Ruin, 100 Kingdoms, and City-States all done up. Yeah, I can't wait for the what is it, the Sorcerer Kings. I'm really, really excited for them. Nice. That's a good couple of like. I mean, just by the two armies you've said, you've sort of given me an idea there, Beardhammer, of um, what exactly you like. Both of them have very similar design aesthetics, which is the armor. Lots of armor. So I might suggest maybe if you're looking for some other things to try before you buy, maybe checking out Slaves to Darkness, Blades of Corn, um, would be some other good ones because it's got some nice heavily armored models in like Blood Warriors and stuff like that. So if, like you seem to have gone for very similar things. Now, on the other hand, if you want to go maybe something a little bit more different and something a little bit less organized, there's a few ways you could go from that. You could go for like more disorganized sort of forces. You go for a more hard edge, but still keep your heavy armor and check out Iron Jaws. Or you could go for that sort of uniform look that obviously the Stormcast and Caradron both have, and maybe go for something a bit more less armored but still uniform and look at Lumineth could be an idea. So like they sort of spread off those sort of two facets of like armored, organized of both factions sort of have quite similar looks to them. Or you could go completely left field and do something rugged where I would suggest something like Ogres or Fire Slayers or Gloomspike Gits. Huh, well, no, see, like straight away, I'm thinking the same. I think I'm hitting sort of your thought train because said you got Slave Darkness, you said you got Lumineth. They all sort of hit that organized look. So maybe try Blades of Corn could be an interesting one. Or yeah, or maybe Iron Jaws. So still that big blocks of armor, but a little bit more rugged. I think I'm hitting it pretty well on the nail on the head. I've called two of your armies without actually asking them. For aesthetic purposes. So yeah, that would be my two suggestions. I'm looking for something to do would be either Iron Jaws, because that could get you into a more sort of armored, sort of disorganized look, but still be that big bulky armor and still be somewhat organized as well. Iron Jaws do have a lot of similar sort of pieces. And then yeah, so if Blades of Corn, my next suggestion, yeah. So Blades of Corn, knocking that out, I would strongly suggest Iron Jaws because that might open you up to a different style of painting as well. Not like while still having that heavily armored sort of look that you've got with a lot of forces or that organized sort of look, but giving it a little bit more rusty and battered sort of look as well. I think would be my big suggestion. I would strongly say, and hey, there's a bunch of brand new Iron Jaws minis coming out. So, not saying it's a great time to go grab some Iron Jaws, but be a pretty good time. I'd go try and grab a start collecting before they disappear. Yeah, a good look at Iron Jaws. If you can find any of the Underworld's warbands, they're all really fun to paint. I just finished up my Iron Skulls boys. Actually, the original Ardboy one was quite fun. Ah, Dan. Um, No worries, mate. Touching up some of the other base coats before we do the. Just got to fix up the black that I originally put down. Fix up this yellow as well on some of the cloth that's just had a bit of issues, but other than that, we're ready to get washes down on these soon, which will be fun. And I can have these finished, which will be great. Because that means I'm just going to have the 8 models to do for my Wadroon Force. Hello, Dave. You just clocked where Sinful comes from. Yep, you are one of the few people that actually has picked where Cinderful comes from. Now, if you know what that district is about, and what game that district is from, like in a very specific thing, it comes from a very specific game that GW released is where Cinderful comes from. Someone actually knows. I'm very, very proud of you, other Dave. You are the first person and has picked up exactly where that comes from. Or at least knows it's a district in Hammerhall. Yep, yeah. Shadows over Hammerhall is the district in which Shadows over Hammerhall the Warhammer quest takes place in. No worries, Ninja. Take care. Thank you for dropping in tonight. Today, whatever it is, wherever you are. Yep. Really good game. I have it sitting just over there. I have all of them. The only one I don't have is Blackstone Fortress, and I have seen a few copies around the place that are tempting me. Very, very tempting. Yeah, Blue Scribes are fine cast. That is a thing that they are. Oh, nice. I really do enjoy Warhammer Quest. Funnily enough, I do think GW's board games are really underappreciated. They make some fantastic board games, even like the ones that used to come in the box sets. Like Betrayal at Calth is one, especially. Betrayal at Calth is a fantastic game. The actual like mini game you play with Betrayal at Calth is fantastic. Um, I don't have an OG Warhammer Quest myself. I do have many of the models from it. If you check out some of our Cities of Sigma battle reports, you'll find some of the minis in my Cities of Sigma armies throughout the years. I have an original Hero Quest. I've also got the updated Hero Quest I want to get painting. I've got the Warhammer Quests. I've got Dreadfleet sitting over there unpainted as well, which is another cool one. And I've got some of the board games they've released over the years as well that we've gotten in Australia. I do want to try and get some of the ones that have been released over in Europe and America. So if anyone knows any of those board games or sees any of those board games, let me know a price because I'd be really interested to get them over. Yeah, Betrayal at the Castle was made by James Hewitt. Yeah. Yeah, really, really good games. He also did Gore Chosen and Gangs of Cormorant, if I remember correctly. It was that sort of era of really strong GW board games. Um, well, but yeah, even outside of James Hewitt, they do really great board games. Like GW board games are great. Um, Something I think that is very underappreciated with them. Yeah, Curse City is also a great game. Like maybe a little bit easy, but like I don't think being easy is a bad thing for a board game. Like board games can be easy. Like I don't think I see this in so many board game groups and stuff like that. People go, "Ah, it's too easy. It's not fun." I'm like, some of the best board games or some of the best games in and the most popular ones are easy. I mean, let's look at let's just go two family favorite games: Uno, Yahtzee. Simple as hell. It's number based, super super simple. Yet they are incredibly popular and a lot of fun. Like Yahtzee is lots of fun. Uno is lots of fun. Um, but yeah, like a game doesn't have to be difficult to be good, um, or be anyway like difficult at all. Game can be as simple as anything. And GW backed this up with probably Warcry being their best game system. And their second best game system probably being like the most well balanced game system being Underworlds. I wouldn't say GW's big battle games are bad. Like, I think there was an interesting one. Like, I had an interesting conversation. Someone's like these other games don't have these issues, and like I play a lot of games. Like, I play a lot of games, and I play a lot of GW's competitors games. Every game, like every main system, like I don't think GW games have that many more issues than other games do. Like, comparative to size. That should be said. So, like, there are issues with Conquest, there are issues with Kings of War, there are issues with Marvel Crisis Protocol, Star Wars Legion, Firefight, whatever game you can think of. There are issues with it. There are broken combos in it. The difference is, right, with games, GW has less time to push out those games, so the games designers have to work on a shorter timeline, which hurts maybe what you think of them. So you got to think like someone like, let's look at Conquest, for example. Conquest put out one army a year, right? GW this year have released for just Age of Sigmar something like they did 4 tomes in the space of like a month at one point. They did 4 armies in a month. So, and they don't have as big a team as you would think. So comparatively, like they're not as bad as people think. I don't think the games. And you've also got, so compared to Kings of War, Conquest, Star Wars Legion, Marvel Crisis Protocol, or whatever, you look at tournament sizes. 40k tournaments regularly hit 1,000 people. Most of these other games, 100 people is a massive tournament, like a truly massive tournament. 40k will hit that. Like we have one days here in my local area that hit 100 people for 40k easy, and it is that difference in the amount of people trying to break a system to play competitively that will make a game seem so much worse than it is, because you'll have so many people trying to nitpick it. When you have 10 people making a game and then that is unleashed upon hundreds of thousands of people, if not millions, like Warhammer could probably be in the millions of people playing it. Level of gameplay, Mothercraft, alternating activation. Alternating activations is an interesting one because I don't think it in itself is a necessary mechanic to be a good game. There are some games that I think are really good that don't have alternating activations. I do think Age of Sigmar's objective game is poor. And I think 40k does objectives a lot better than Age of Sigmar. While 40k still has a lot of standing in circles, it has a lot more choices to be made. And Age of Sigmar's secondary system, battle tactics, is just a waste of space. It is not good at all. I think battle tactics can just be gone away with. I've played a battle pack that released in the current White Dwarf where there were no battle tactics, and it is the best games of Age of Sigmar I've had in a long, long time. But yeah, I think, yeah, I do agree that Age of Sigmar's objective placed game, like, yeah, I don't know how you like what you do with Age of Sigmar, because it is a very heavy combat focused game. Yeah, I think Warcry's fundamental good thing is the dice, the ability scores. So I get another good one. Kings of War doesn't have alternating activations. I think Kings of War has literally zero interaction in your opponent's turn. I think it's a good game. I hope they do. I think Age of Sigmar, I think, is at current perhaps GW's worst game. And that pains me because anyone who watches the channel knows I love Age of Sigmar. I mean, just look at all that Age of Sigmar artwork on the walls. But I do think at current point, I think Age of Sigmar is the worst game GW currently make, at least in a meta representation. I think you can make Age of Sigmar a much better game, but I think tournaments for AOS are horrid at the moment. I think Age of Sigmar, there are some really good things that have happened in 40k 10th edition. I love the idea of characters joining units, providing these little buffs, creating these cool little combos. And I think that solves so much of an issue with some of these armies having too many characters. You don't care about it, because I look at Space Marines and I look at the amount of characters in a Space Marine army now that Warhammer 40k has access to, and sorry. The way you can join all those characters, if Space Marine, like what I was saying is all the Space Marine characters, I probably have a use for every single one of them, or at least 90% of them now. So I think that needs to come over to Age of Sigmar. I think the battle plans are better. Three is good. Like, I think the game, like the bones of the game, are really good. There's definitely some issues with Age of Sigmar at the moment, and some of that is to do with some books being really out of whack, like really badly out of whack. And funnily enough, that is that point that I mentioned before, that they released 4 books in, a small amount of time. That's to do with that, which does not surprise me in the slightest. But AOS is a fun game. Like, I think the core mechanics of AOS are good. It's just not in its best state at the moment. And normally, to be fair, this happens at the end of an edition anyway. Normally, we get those issues cropping up at the end of an edition, which is where we are in Age of Sigmar. That's why you have edition changes. You reset, you refine, you improve, you change when you have the edition, when things, when you have this sort of staggered release system. So I think, it sort of comes with the territory of where we are in Age of Sigmar's timeline. But in general, Age of Sigmar is a fine game. Being GW's worst game is not a bad thing, because GW do make good games despite what some people think. But yeah, the initiative dice system for Warcry is without a doubt, I think Warcry's shining. Alabaster Knights, Path to Glory will be coming back. We're going to be doing it in like a proper Path to Glory setting, so have no fear. You'll see like multiple people on the channel. I wouldn't say it's deliberate. I would say it is a causality of how they release product. GW release things throughout a game's life cycle, and that has knock-on effects that, of course, mean we get bloat, we get issues with a game as time changes. And these can be good or bad, because like some things can get changed over the course of edition and be better. Like, we now have keywords for things like ward saves, due to Age of Sigmar last edition. Ward actually got a universal language late second edition. I can guarantee I know what I'll be doing for Path to Glory next, and it will be Cities of Sigmar. But yeah, we do plan to have like proper campaigns and all that sort of stuff coming. They have just been a little bit delayed as I've not been particularly well past few months, but we will get there. So expect to see like proper campaign stuff. Not going to do. Yeah, so I do have my idea for my new Cities of Sigmar force I'm going to be doing for Path to Glory. And I'm going to do a Path to Glory campaign for the last survivors of Anvilgard, the last free citizens of Anvilgard. knowing some of the internal stuff, I don't agree. Like knowing game testers and game designers that have worked for them, I just don't agree that they purposely set out to do anything like that. You've been playing a two. Oh, nice. Yeah, like that'll be something we strive to do as well, like little two-player campaigns and stuff like that. Um, some really cool stuff. We'll be continuing to do White Dwarf Bunker stuff because I've been really enjoying the White Dwarf Bunker. I think it's probably like some of the best stuff GW do. White Dwarf is an interesting one. I don't think enough people grab White Dwarf. Pick up your White Dwarf if you play GW games. It always has fantastic stuff in there for a variety of different games. Oh, sorry, I missed the Bing Blades on. Yeah, I misread. But yes, we will be having 2-player, 4-player, sometimes 6-player. But yeah, so quite excited. Yeah, on the White Dwarf Bunker, like I strongly recommend if you play any couple of GW games, if you play at least 2 GW games, you'll probably find you have something in most editions of it to play. It's really, really good. I like the last one. It had a nice beginner-friendly battle pack for Age of Sigmar. Um, um, had some new Warcry scenarios in there, and a new battle plan for 40k, which was really fun, and had a narrative-themed battle plan for Age of Sigmar as well as a new battle pack with 3,000-point games battle plans. I generally stay away from taking name characters in Path to Glory. It just goes against what I want to do in them. We did do it a while ago. So I played a campaign with my mates where we did narrative. We did big characters in the campaign as well as our own, and we used rules sort of based off the Blood Bowl star players that you could hire them for a short time, but then they would disappear. So you didn't get these characters permanently, but for particular battles, you could hire what we would call legendary characters to come help for a certain amount of renown and stuff like that. But they would only be for a game, and it made using them quite interesting. Um, I can't remember exactly the rules. I didn't write the campaign rules for that one. But yeah, you would be able to take them for a small price. Not a small price, but a price, and use them in pivotal games. Yeah, like Pathfinder is a hard one to get people into. Like, I find you have to have that close knit group to play Path to Glory with. It's really hard to get people that um, without sit on the internet all day and read all the lists and read all the tournament lists. They won't play Path to Glory as well. Um, I think Path to Glory and Crusade definitely need a social contract when you're playing of what you're trying to do, why you're trying to do the Path to Glory campaign. Are you doing it simply as a method to build up your armies, which is fine, go competitive Path to Glory, that's fine. But are you doing it as a method to build a story? Then you need to maybe tone back some of the competitive edge on how you're playing. So I'm lucky. I run the channel. I have plenty of people to play with. So it is a thing that I get lucky with. Yeah. Such is a life, man. It happens when you get older. Sorry, just had to respond to something. For a lot of my gaming, it does revolve around very few select people that come on the channel now. My pool is maybe not as wide as it once was. I don't go to tournaments all that much anymore. Like I said, not very much into Age of Sigmar in a competitive sense at the moment. I think it's in a pretty bad spot. I haven't really... I don't enjoy 3rd edition as much as I did 2nd. I will say that. That's despite I've got a tournament trophy for a 3rd edition tournament. So, been the most successful I've ever been this edition, but I'm still not keen on it. Speaking of solo gaming, then, have you checked out the Elder Scrolls Call to Arms game? One of my favorite solo play games. On that, yeah, I recommend checking out the Elder Scrolls game. We've got a few battle reports up of it. It is fun if you like Skyrim as well. The biggest compliment I can give that game is it feels like I'm playing Skyrim, which is, a good compliment for a game that's based on that world. No, you can play like quite a few narrative. There are some exciting sort of campaigns and battles that you can play. You can play it as one-off. You can play it in a sort of longer period. There's a really cool campaign supplement you can do called Into the Dark, which uses 1x1 hexes and lays out a map for you as you play along, effectively going through dungeon areas. There's also like delve mode scenarios and just like one-off scenarios you can play. It has a bunch of the named characters in there. There are quests to do where you can play progressive quest lines through different dungeons. So you could, for example, make a straight up dungeon crawl become a narrative progressive campaign, playing 3 of the dungeon one-off games, but actually have a quest in them that is trying to be a 3-part quest to complete during each one of them. So there's some interesting stuff you can do with it. And it's cool. It's got a lot of the named characters from the movie, from the games that you would know if you know Skyrim. So things like Lydia and Kijaro and Sven the Minstrel, Aranea. They just released last season was Dawnguard vs Volcany Vampires. And we've just had the College Winterhold, Thieves Guild, and someone else announced. And if you ever do find someone to play it against, it does have a verse mode as well, so you could play, Imperials vs Stormcloaks. So yeah, I do believe, I don't know if it's just gone on pre-order or it's going to be on pre-order off Modifius website. But they have a new starter set coming out. Either it's just gone up or it's be out soon. So if you're interested, maybe wait. If that's up, that'd be a great place to start. If it's not up, it should be up soon. I can't quite remember if it's out yet. But yeah, we've got plenty of battle reports on the channel for it. So if you want to go see sort of like a lot of them are verse mode, there are some delve mode scenarios in there, both co-op and solo play ones. So you could certainly use mini agnostic minis. It does definitely use a lot of the characters you're familiar with. But like I know a lot of the beasts they just haven't bothered making minis for because literally they came out and they're like, we're not going to make bear, we're not going to make wolf, we're not going to make skeever minis because you can just find rat, bear, and wolf minis anywhere you want. There's no point in them making them. And they've got so like if you could find something that suits, it's a 28mm true scale. Probably the only models you would want to use from this set are their named characters, but like if you find someone who looks enough like a Stormcloak soldier, your Dragonborn, you could use any mini you want that sort of will represent because obviously the Dragonborn liking that are much more customizable. Skeletons are skeletons. That's fair. I'm pretty sure you could find STLs for Elder Scrolls minis out there. I do know they sell STLs for some of the terrain. So there's that as well. That is something that interests you. I know they've got a couple of cool STLs they sell for some of the cool terrain features. It's fun, man. It is probably one of my favorite games. But yeah, no, it's a good game. I quite enjoy it. But yeah, I would be really surprised if you could not find STLs specifically made to be Elder Scrolls characters. Like, oh, very nice. But yeah, yeah. I would be, if you do decide, I would be strongly surprised if there are not STLs made purposely to be Skyrim minis. Um, Speaking of which, I will be getting some 3D printers for the channel sometime soon. As we look to sort of expand what we can do on the channel. Yeah, mostly looking at terrain. Most compelling mechanic, I would say, is the adversaries within the game. So, no matter what mode you're playing, it is very much you versus Skyrim. And that is even in two-player mode. If you are playing your opponent, so say we're playing a 1v1 game, Skyrim is still involved in that 1v1 game, and Skyrim is super interesting. They've made sure to go through with detailed mechanics on how the AI works. Um, so, it is very straightforward, sort of gives you a drop down thing of it does this, then this, then this, and this in this order, if it can, and it will take like branching sort of patterns of how they act. Um, and yeah, I think the adversaries is really my favorite thing about it. There are so many games where we've been playing, and Skyrim has killed one or both of the two of us playing. Um, I remember in the bat rep that will go up over the next couple of days, there is a good bunch of Skyrim murders or Skyrim kills. No worries, Beard Hammer. Thank you for coming, hobbying, and hanging out, mate. We'll catch up with you sometime soon. Still don't know what I'm painting. We are painting Wadrun Slingers from Conquest: The Last Argument of Kings. So these are effectively Conquest version of orcs. Just finishing up my base coats on them. The last base coat I actually have to do is this black. So Conquest is a rank and flank game, alternating activations, a sort of secret deck mechanic where before the round begins, you have a bunch of cards that dictate what units you have on the table, and you'll put them in a set order at the beginning of your turn, and without your opponent knowing, and then you will reveal sort of like a blind sort of battle, blind mechanic. So I'll be like, I'm playing my swordsman first, and so they get to attack one of your units or do or move or do something. But then you'll play, and you've gone, oh well, I'm going to play my archers on the other side of the table, and they're going to shoot your knights before your knights activate. But then it turns out, well, actually now because you've chosen not to use your own cavalry, my unit of cavalry is actually going to be able to charge your cavalry because you didn't, and it creates quite a interesting mechanic of like this sort of ebb and flow of battle, which is really fun. The tasty brain drain. Hello, how are we? Hope you're doing well. What's on the painting handle? Nothing on the handle. We're painting some Wadrun slingers for Conquest of the Last Argument of Kings today. Ugh, stuck at work. I mean, I'm at work. Too. I guess a very different work, but I am at work. um, Conquest is probably one of my favorite games. I'm now trying to get my forces painted so we can get more of it happening on the channel. Because I really enjoy the game. I did paint up my veterans as well the other day. So they just got their basing to do, but yep, they are all done. Realizing I missed. Oh, very nice. Yeah, the Wadrun, I think, one of the things. You want something lovely for Conquest, go check out the Old Dominion. They have an undead, like a Byzantine themed undead army. And it is a thing of beauty. Alrighty. With that, though, I am going to call it a night because it is past midnight here. I need to go to bed because I have to take the kids to kindy tomorrow and do some other stuff. So, with that said, I want to say a big thank you to everyone for coming, watching, hobbying, and hanging out with us tonight. Massive thank you to everyone. For everyone who is a Patreon and YouTube member, massive thanks. If you would like to help support the channel via Patreon YouTube members, even a couple of bucks always helps to keep the channel doing what we do. There are links down in the video's description, also referral links to both Element Games and Gap Games, two of our fine sponsors, and Baron of Dice as well, if you want to help get yourself some hobby and help support the channel. Our Teespring stores down there with a bunch of the stickers, t-shirts, mugs, all that good stuff. With that said, everyone, thank you all for watching. Stay safe, stay well, and most of all, keep fighting that war against the grey. Ciao for now.